Welcome back to Melody Guitar Book 3. This book focuses on reading and playing melodies in standard music notation. You can watch all these videos for free, but it's going to be a lot easier to learn if you have your own copy of Melody Guitar 3 that you can read from and write in. Plus, you can help support a music teacher, so I'll leave a link in the description. We're on pages 82 and 83. We're in the middle of a short theory section in Melody Guitar 3. In the last lesson, you learned about relative major and minor and how to figure out the relative minor by using the 6th scale degree of the major scale. In this lesson, I'm going to show you another trick for finding relative major and minor, and then we're going to talk about how to figure out if a song is in a major or a minor key. In the previous lesson, you learned about relative major and minor, how the relative minor is built on the 6th scale degree of the major scale. So all you have to do to find the relative minor is count 6 notes up the major scale. That's the beginning of your relative minor. There's another way we can do this as well. If you know your major key, let's say it's C, you can count 3 half steps down from your major key and find your relative minor. So there's our start. 3 half steps, 1, 2, 3. That is our relative minor, A minor. And it works the other way too. If you're starting with the minor key and you want to find the relative major key, you can count 3 half steps up. So there's an A, 3 half steps up would be B flat, B, and C. On page 82, we have a written exercise, finding the relative minor. In each example, you're given a key signature. In the left-hand measure, name the major key and write the first note of its major scale. In the right-hand measures, find the name of the relative minor key by counting 3 half steps down from the note you wrote for the major key, and then write the name of that relative minor in the space on the right. This first example is already filled in. There is no key signature, so that puts us in the key of C major. Then you would fill in that major key blank with the letter C. For the right-hand measure, you would count 3 half steps down from that C. So start on C, and then 1, 2, 3 half steps down puts you on an A. So you would write in the A note in the right-hand measure, and then fill in that blank on the right with A minor. Next up, we already know this is in the key of G, but let's say we didn't know that. We have 1 sharp in the key signature, F sharp. For sharp keys, raise the last sharp in the row a half step. There's just 1 sharp, it's that F sharp. Raise it a half step, you find yourself on a G. So that way you know you're in the key of G major. So you would write a G in the staff and write the major key of G on the left. To name your minor key, you would start on that G, and then play 3 half steps down, 1, 2, 3, finding yourself on an E. And then you would write that E in the staff, and then fill in the blank on the right with E minor. The next one is not filled in. We have 1 flat in the key signature. If there's 1 flat in the key signature, we are in the key of F major. So you would write an F in that staff, and then write F where the major key blank is. To find the name of our relative minor key, you would start on an F, any F you like, and play 3 half steps down, 1, 2, 3, finding yourself on a D. So write a D in that staff, and then fill in that blank on the right with D minor. Our next example has 2 sharps in the key signature, F sharp and C sharp. To find the name of our major key, we take the last sharp in the row, that C sharp, raise it a half step or 1 fret, you find yourself on a D, so we are in the key of D major. Write a D note in the staff, and then fill in that major key with D. To find the name of our relative minor key, start on any D, play 3 half steps down, 1, 2, 3, you find yourself on a B, so we are in the key of B minor. So write a B in the staff on the right, and then write in B minor in the relative minor key blank. Next we have 2 flats in the key signature. If it's a flat key, you always take the second to last flat in the key signature. That'll be B flat, and we don't have to alter that note. B flat is the name of your key. So you would write a B flat in that staff, and then where the major key blank is, write B flat. To find the name of our relative minor key, start on any B flat, and play 3 half steps down, 1, 2, 3, you'll find yourself on a G. So you write a G in the measure on the right, and then fill in that relative minor key blank with G minor. Next we have 3 sharps in the key signature, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. If it's a sharp key, you take the last sharp in the row, in this case G sharp, raise it by a half step or 1 fret to find the name of your key. That puts us on an A. So write an A in the music staff, and then where the major key blank is, write A. To find the name of our relative minor key, play any A, and then play 3 half steps down, 1, 2, 3. You'll find yourself on an F sharp. So write an F sharp in the measure on the right, and then fill in that blank to the right with F sharp minor. And the last one at the bottom of page 82, we have 3 flats in the key signature. Remember, for flats, you take the second to last flat in the row. That's going to be this E flat. And you don't have to alter the note. That flat is the name of your key, so we are an E flat major. Write an E flat in the staff on the left, and then fill in that blank with E flat. To find the name of your relative minor key, start on any E flat and play 3 half steps down, 1, 2, 3. You'll find yourself on a C. So write a C in the measure on the right, and then in the blank on the right, add C minor. Moving on to page 83, now that you are aware of relative major and minor keys that share the same key signature, how can you figure out whether a song is in a major or minor key? The first thing you want to do is look at the key signature. If there is 1 sharp in the key signature, you know it's either going to be in G major or E minor, which is the relative minor of G. If the main melody note seems to center around an E, there's a good chance it's in the key of E minor. Now, you can't always tell whether it's in a major or minor key just by looking at the melody. The chords can also provide you with a visual clue. Again, if there's just 1 sharp in the key signature, that'll be G major or E minor. If the last chord is a G chord, it's probably in G major. If the last chord is E minor, the key is probably E minor. And finally, just listen to it. Assuming you've been working through my rhythm guitar books or you've studied chords on your own, you've played both major and minor chords. You may have noticed that major chords have a brighter quality of sound, and that minor chords sound a little darker. By the same token, melodies in major keys often sound brighter than minor melodies. At the bottom of page 83, we have exercises 184 through 189. What I'd like you to do is use the key signature to figure out what the relative major or relative minor would be, and then use visual cues to figure out if you're in a major key or a minor key, and the first melody is filled out. Number 184 has 1 sharp in the key signature, so that's going to be either G major or E minor, the relative minor of G. And you can review lessons right before this one to see how you can figure out relative major and minor. Looking at this one, we can see our first chord and our last chord is E minor. So that's a pretty good indication that we are in the key of E minor, and we can listen to the melody to be sure. Number 185, we have 1 flat in the key signature. If it's a major key, it'll be the key of F. If it's a minor key, it'll be the relative minor of F, which is D minor. Looking through this, we can see that our first and last chord is D minor, and the melody also seems to center around D as well. We begin and end on a D, so I would fill in minor for sure. Number 186 has no key signature. If it's a major key, that'll be the key of C major. The relative minor of C major is A minor. This one begins on an F major 7, which is no help, but it does end on a C chord, so that's a very strong indication that this is in the key of C major. Now, it's hard to tell just from looking at the melody whether the melody centers around a C or an A, because we start on an E and we end on an E. But looking at those other clues, especially ending on a C, I would call this key of C major. Especially when you put that C major chord at the end. Number 187 has two sharps. Remember to name our major sharp key. We take the last sharp in the row, that C sharp, raise it 1 fret or a half step, find yourself on a D. So if this is in major, it's in the key of D major. The relative minor of D major is B minor. This one's a pretty clear case. We have a B note at the beginning, a B note at the end, and we begin and end on a B minor chord. So yeah, key of B minor for sure. Number 188 has two flats in the key signature, B flat and E flat. To find the name of your flat key, take the second to last flat in the row, in this case B flat. That is the name of your key. You don't have to alter that note like you do with sharps. That is the name of your key. And the relative minor of B flat major is G minor. This one begins on a B flat note, ends on a D note, and our first and last chord is B flat major, so pretty clear indication that we are in the key of B flat major. And finally, number 189. We have three sharps in the key signature. That'll be F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. For sharp keys, take the last sharp in the row, this G sharp, raise it a half step or 1 fret, find yourself on an A. So the major key is A major, and its relative minor is F sharp minor. This one begins and ends on an A. So at first glance, if you only look at the melody, you would think this would be the key of A major. However, the first chord and last chord are both F sharp minor, so this would be F sharp minor. Your assignment is to study the material on pages 82 and 83, and I do recommend practicing writing out major scales and their relative minors. You're going to need some manuscript paper for that, and I do have some free manuscript paper you can download from my website. The link is in the description. And don't forget to order your own copy of Melody Guitar 3. That link is also in the description. Once you're comfortable with this material, I'll see you on page 84. We've been talking about writing out major and relative minor scales. That's all well and good, but you want to be able to play this stuff as well. So on the next page, you're going to learn some minor scale forms.